So before we watch this, right, Pyro's saying, is modern World of Warcraft storytelling too soft? Not too long ago, we were having a discussion when we were playing WoW together and on the stream, and we were talking about the Wrathgate. And what an epic moment that was. The first cutscene ever in the game. I still believe the best cutscene ever in the game. But I started to somewhat go on a rant about how World of Warcraft was much more gritty and hardcore back then. The storytelling was. Let's look at the Wrathgate one more time, and then we'll dive into Pyro's opinion on where World of Warcraft storytelling has gone. I could watch this freaking cutscene 100 times over, man. It's so damn good. And it was a shocker when it came out. Oh. Hear the music. 720p is the best it's good.
Take the lead! For Mortarod! For the Alliance!
For Mortarod, too. Look at the teeth mashed, man.
Back, you mindless wretches!
Still get goosebumps.
Fight on, brothers!
Badass.
Rise up, sons of the Horde! Blood and glory await us!
This is what you want to see. When you talk about the Horde and Alliance working together, it's not about, oh, we're friends now. We have tea and crumpets together every Sunday. No, this is what you want to see. Death is knocking at the door, and the only way to survive is to unite. And we're going to unite in our badassery, and we're still going to have our differences. We don't really like each other, but we understand that if we don't come together, the world is going to end. This was a badass moment.
For the Horde!
I was wondering if you'd show up.
I couldn't let the Alliance have all the fun
These
today.
fucking lines, man. Listen to this speech. Listen to this damn speech.
Arthas! The blood of your father! Of your people! Demands justice!
It's so good. Like, today we get fucking these dragons with their power coming back, and they're all getting teary-eyed, like, oh my god, the tree has blessed us once again, and all this shit going down. And then the blood of your father demands justice. Like, this is the kind of lines that we used to get.
Come forth, coward, and answer for your crimes!
I love this line from Arthas, man. Justice of the grave.
You speak of justice, of cowardice. I will show you the justice of the grave and the true meaning of fear.
Badass.
Enough talk! Let it be finished!
We just witnessed somebody get one shot and then their soul sucked out of their body. That's freaking hardcore. I mean, this is when you knew death was possible. No character was safe.
You will pay for all the lives you've stolen, traitor!
Boldly stated, but there is nothing you can...
What?
Did you think we had forgotten? Did you think we had forgiven? Behold now the terrible vengeance of the Forsaken!
Sylvanas.
Death
Yeah, back when Sylvanas' story was actually good.
to the Scourge! And death to the living!
Look at the violence. This guy's face is melting away in the fucking poison. Look at this shit. Now we have bosses that do abilities like Glittering Surge. This guy's face is being melted off by freaking poison. He's crying.
Now, all can see. This is the hour of the Forsaken.
Little bitch, hit and run. Man.
We're finished.
Man, look at Bolvar. Damn. Look at this. Listen to the music. This is like straight out of Lord of the Rings with the dragons coming from the background.
No escape
Like when the eagles came in and Frodo's on the side of the volcano. Man, it's so good.
for any of us.
Damn. Look at that scene. It's so good. Look at that scene, man. What a beautiful image. The dragons flying away after they purified the land with their flame. It's so Lord of the Rings-esque, as I said before. So good. With the Tower of Dragonblight in the background, too. I mean, the truth is, they just don't make them like this anymore. That's the honest-to-God truth. So, the reason why I showed you guys that is to kind of lay of the land of how Blizzard used to tell stories. The grittiness, the death, the great one-liners. I mean, this was what it was all about. Yeah, okay, Hobicus. But today's WoW, slightly different. Now are we returning to the days of the hardcore storytelling? Metzin's coming back. You know, he's telling the story of the World Soul Saga now. Maybe WoW storytelling can be redeemed. And maybe it doesn't need to be. Let's see what Pyro has to say about what he thinks. Is Blizzard storytelling too soft?
Don't want to spark drama, but how do you feel about the Asmon video / community sentiment that Warcraft has become Pixarified? Yeah, man. I think everyone's opinion is they're entitled to their own opinion. I don't agree with the sentiment. I think that there's been some times in Dragonflight, like I think specifically the Calic Ghosts, that did not the Calic Ghost lines didn't help. But look, dude, I think that unless you're genuinely into the story of WoW,
Look, I will say, I don't think the Dragonflight story was necessarily bad, right? I think Eridikron is a cool villain. I liked the Incarnates. Farak did some interesting things. I wish he would have gotten a little bit more fucked up, and evil. Like, he would have burned that actual Night Elf alive. It kind of would have been... That's the kind of stuff that I'm saying we're missing a little bit. I feel like Blizzard has been a bit more afraid to show violence in the game. But the storytelling... It's just been, there's been a lot of, I don't know how to describe it, huggy friendship shit told in the story. A lot of emotional stuff. And I'm not saying emotions are a bad thing, but I don't know if it belongs so much in Warcraft's cutscenes. Like that could be just some quest text or something. The cutscenes should be action.
I don't know why people make a big deal out of it anyway. It's not like Asmon has ever followed the story seriously in any capacity.
No, he hasn't.
He knows a very little, so it doesn't mean that his opinion doesn't matter. It just means that, like, it's like going to a dentist for advice on law. You know what I mean? It's like going to a lawyer to get a pap smear. They don't do that. You know what I mean? Like,
I can confirm we do not do pap smears. Yeah, that is true. To be fair, most of the lore you see is like 5% of what's going on. That's true. Exactly. That is true. If you're actually into the lore, you're getting the lore from way more places than just your cutscenes in the game. But that's why I'm saying the cutscenes themselves should be really climactic, action-packed moments, because for a lot of players, that's the only lore they're getting. Right, so you want to make it something very, very, exciting. Like the Legion moment where Varian lets go of the airship and drops down and one-shots the freaking Felguard. Like, that's badass. That is a cinematic-worthy moment. Whether or not, two dragons in their visage forms talking about their feelings is worthy of a cutscene, I don't know. It's
people.
It does rub some people the wrong way and make them feel like, well, I just did hours of questing. I killed this giant boss, and now what? Now we're just going to talk about our feelings. Like, that's the climax that I'm waiting for.
Talk about systems or whatever. You can talk about whatever you want, but I don't put that much stock into the story opinions of someone like Asmongold. And I put stock in his other opinions. I think general game vibe, I think systems and stuff like that, I think I'm much more likely to respect his opinion on those things. I don't really respect his opinion on the lore, to be honest. So yeah,
Good job, Tundra.
On the note of Pixar and all that stuff, though, I can see where people get that sentiment from, but I think that
Yeah. I think people who have those feelings really do. They're like what I described. They get their lore from the cutscenes and things like that. Like that's all they know about World of Warcraft lore. And so, like I said, the main issue is not necessarily the story, but the way it's being told and the parts that they're picking to tell in the cinematics.
the underlying themes are still really tough. Like, I think that if you can't look at the dragons and the ordering of those dragons and how that affected their relationships.
Like here, I'll give you guys a quick example. Today's team, probably at the culling of Stratham, would not have focused on the banter between Uther and Arthas and everything that was going on, the fact that he was about to slaughter a bunch of citizens, right? And how like disgusting that was about to be. But they would have probably focused on the Jaina Arthas dynamic and all these lovey-dovey, Jaina, what am I going to do without you? And I can't watch you do this, Arthas. Like that cutscene right there, only at one moment do you really get into the emotions of it between Jaina and Arthas, where she walks away, he goes, Jaina, and then she goes, I can't watch you do this, and walks away. But today's cutscenes probably would have focused a lot more on that and kind of shied away from the, talk about the fact that he was about to slaughter a bunch of innocent civilians.
With one another, made them question their own mindset and their own temperaments. And if you can't look at that and I don't know, learn about the primalists and like why they are against the Titans and understand that conflict, like that's
important.
I don't know, that's a pretty deep conflict, man.
Yeah.
That's I mean, this is like genetic alteration before you were born, not at all up to you,
Yeah,
and
it's
then your
fucked up.
parents even have the ability to abandon you. Like, whoo, man, that's some pretty heavy shit, like, when you think about it. So I think it's kind of a bullshit thing to say that World of Warcraft isn't thematically dark anymore. Like, there's some dark shit in WoW. It's just...
Yeah, like another example would have been, like you just said, Tweak, you started in Legion, the cinematics were great, right? Yeah, they chose to show the moment where Varian Wrynn jumps off the ship and slaughters an army and gets killed by Gul'dan. Epic moment to show in a cutscene. Today's, team would have maybe selected to not have that shown. Just mention that, oh yeah, Varian died, and then show a cutscene where basically Greymane is telling Anduin your father died and the emotions of that moment and how he feels about it, and a flashback to when he was a kid and his dad was playing with him or something. I don't know. But like, though, that would have been the choice. And by doing that, you make people feel like the lore is soft. When in fact, a king was just slaughtered by an entire army of Legion and a fell infused orb was shoved into his chest. But we missed that, and all we got was the emotional side of it. That's why I'm saying these cutscenes need to be chosen more, more strategically, right? The emotion stuff in a cutscene just doesn't go over as well as an epic moment, a battle, a death, like stuff like that.
It's a lot of times
They would have done the
under
funeral,
a layer
yeah.
of pretty order.
Well, we did see the funeral,
And
but
so
that was
dragons
after.
are pretty and orderly, but people don't really conceive of how dark that is because they don't really understand what happened to the dragons to make them that way, right? They don't understand the struggles between Alexstrasza and Viranoth, and a lot of that's in a book. So
Yeah,
you can only,
that's a
you can
problem.
only blame so much. But then again, it's the theme is still there, right? I think that the perceived softness of WoW is, frankly, I feel like if you were really paying attention to the stories, which, let's be honest, a lot of people weren't. They speed through things. 9 out of 10 people who play this Troll Heritage quest line, they're not going to get it at all. I mean, they're going to get it, but are they really going to get it? No. And does that mean that their opinion of the quest is invalid? No. but doesn't mean that they might be forming an opinion based off of a half-formed picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, he's right in that, but like I said, I just showed you guys the Wrathgate cinematic. I mean, that basically people could have quested through the entire thing, never read a single quest line, never understood what the hell they were doing, but then bam, they get hit with the Wrathgate cinematic, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh shit, this is what I was doing. What a moment! Oh, okay, all the shit I just did led to this." Rather than a cutscene where the two guys are talking about how they feel about what's going on in Northrend, and that would have been a perceived part that okay, this story went soft. Yeah, so it's like it keeps going. I'm really hammering in on this point that it's the scenes they're selecting that's the problem, and not necessarily the story itself.
And you're allowed to care about something without being an expert in something. So you're allowed to care about the integrity and delivery of the lore without being an expert. That's not a fucking barrier to entry. So is that fair? Is it fair? Should a quest have the same significance for every player, or should you something like this troll quest line having this this external knowledge about this other larger conflict gives it a much different and grander meaning?
Right.
If you're not.
Yeah. Look, Egg. You're saying players want immersion. They don't want. They have to. Basically have to rely on add-ons to get that right now. Look, I do think that if Blizzard ever added in, some of that AI technology, the ability to read for quests to essentially be voiced over, quest text to be voiced over in the game, I do think it would do a lot. I mean, like an immense amount of good for the game in terms of lore to be able to tell the story to players. Players would pay attention more if the stories were voiced over. That's for sure. And I hope Blizzard's working on that because you'd be able to toggle it on and off if you don't want to hear that shit. But I do think it would help the game a lot in terms of storytelling and lore and how people feel about the lore.
You're not following the.
We have one. Yeah, I know there's add-ons, but add-ons don't count. Like you can't depend on add-ons to fix the game because it's completely unfair to expect players to download a game and then to get to be able to play the game correctly, download add-ons. It has to be in the game to count in terms of making the game better.
Story, it's like how you gonna experience that?
But yes, the add-on's great, and Blizzard should take inspiration
skip through
from
everything, and Farrak is in ways a very similar character to Arthas Menethil, and that's often I think very overlooked because he's not wearing black metal spiky Serenite armor. Well, he kind of is, but
yeah.
And he's not built up through Warcraft 3 and stuff. So it's like
Blizzard has too good of a relationship with the voice actors to replace them like that. Well, they're not replacing them. If they could still have like the big players, right, the main characters in the game voiced over, that's fine. But the issue is the quest text from the random NPCs and shit. They don't have voice actors for that stuff. They just can use AI for them.
Everyone has this, not everyone, but I think that there's this expectation for older players that Arthas is like the cutting edge and absolute end game of World of Warcraft. And I feel like that is so fucking lame. And so I guess where I find
I get what he's saying, that it's lame, that's like, oh, there will never be good stories anymore after the Lich King. But the truth is, it is the best story ever told in the game. It really is. It's the best story, and it's because, there was a good foundation laid for it. A lot of us already knew the story. But man, the fall of a prince into evil and stuff, like his basically, desire to try to do something right and he ends up doing something wrong. It's just such a good story. It's really hard to top it. It's the same issue that Star Wars, right? The Star Wars universe has with going beyond Darth Vader and the Skywalkers and everything. It doesn't mean that the stories are bad that came after, and you could talk about that later on. I don't like the current Star Wars stories, but it just means that the Skywalker saga or the Lich King saga was so good that it's very hard to top. Same with Marvel. Infinity Saga, it's tough to top. It was a very good story.
Arthas becomes interesting is when we start to look at the alternative possibilities for what Arthas could have done. And I think that characters like Zoval, Anduin, Sargeras, they contribute to this narrative. And this narrative it's not about Arthas. It's about the concept of free fucking will. That's what it's not about Arthas. No one gives a shit about Arthas. It's about free will. And it's about forced servitude. That's what it's about. So when you can realize those themes, you realize that Arthas exists in myriad characters. It's not just one guy. And so You
Interesting.
see what was so tragic with Arthas and how it happened, and you look at these other characters like Anduin, and you just
Bad
think,
Batch is great. I like
man,
it.
I hope it doesn't happen to him. But no, people want that Arthas. Oh, I hope Anduin turns into a void fucking revenant and turns evil. It's like, bro, yeah, and I'm glad that you're not writing the story, because that's fucking lame. It's fucking lame, bro. We've already had that. We already did that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I agree. Don't let nostalgia cloud your vision. I mean, don't let nostalgia force you to rehash the same stories over and over. It's a problem with the whole movie industry making, we're going to have Toy Story 15 soon because they're afraid to tell a new story. They got to keep redoing the same old shit. I agree. Take risks, move the story forward. You can't keep going back. That doesn't mean you can't love the old story. It truly was good.
In some ways, Azeroth is Arthas. Very true. A soul divided. A soul being
true.
manipulated
I can see that.
for the ends of somebody else. So the mindset, in my opinion, that people feel like the game is just soft now because in their mind they think everything is just supposed to be Arthas. And it's just not.
Yeah. No,
It's just
it
not.
won't be.
The
That's
world
true.
of Warcraft is way more than Arthas. It's way more than the Scourge. It's way more than that singular storyline.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
It's the best story,
I get it.
but
It's
there
the
is more.
tragic fall of the hero to darkness, and his friends who were supposed to confide in him and help him abandon him.
Yeah.
It's the same story over and over. You know? I want player characters to lose for the first time in WoW.
We're going to. We have
We've
lost.
lost before.
Yeah, we have lost.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Remember-
want to take like a big L, I guess, maybe, but I mean, we lost to Arthas in the fight. We actually get killed. Who else have we lost to? I'll let Pyro, I guess, mention some of them, but we have had L's before.
We fought the Burning Legion, and we thought we won. And then remember when we killed N'Zoth and we thought we won?
Yeah,
And remember how
N'Zoth's still alive too. We still think we won that one. At least the NPCs in the game do, but we know he's not
Garrus
dead.
stuck a giant fucking sword on our planet, and we called that a win. Yeah, okay.
True. That's
We've
true.
had
That
some
was
L's,
an L.
man. We've definitely had some tough moments. But I think it's I understand. I think what you're saying to not be so facetious, and I think I see what you're saying is like a big loss, like something
Yeah,
that's
big
genuinely
loss.
like where we come away from it and we're like, what the fuck do we do?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I felt like the sword was pretty close to that. Thankfully, we had those artifact weapons, because without those, then that truly would have been that kind of situation.
Would
You
have been
know,
the end.
It
yeah.
is very rare where we are put in a situation where we have to watch it unfold, and we're basically like, okay, I don't see a path
Yeah.
where we win.
Yeah. Like the Ethereals, they took an L, right? I mean, their planet was destroyed. Their very being was destroyed. That's why they have to bandage themselves together now. So, I mean, they took an L. They took an L. Are we going to take an L of that caliber? We'll have to see. I mean, a Void Lord is coming. The Harbinger Zalateth is bringing that same threat that came to them to us. We'll have to see if we take an L that massive.
I don't.
We
see
all
it,
become
you know,
Ethereals,
so
race changed.
If that happens, I think that's kind of what you mean. That grand fashion of loss, and maybe and like you guys are saying, maybe that's what Midnight is. I kind of don't think so though, and here's why: because the gods are not going to come and save us. That's not going to happen. Illidan taught me that.
Maybe,
there
Bernie.
can be no chosen one. Only we can save ourselves. So I don't even really like I get it, but I don't think that's gonna happen. We're the
We are the champions. That's right.
heroes. It's like the whole point. It's like
Yeah.
the entire point. Like, we're gonna win. Our willpower in our connection to Azeroth, we're gonna win. So if you're worried about the Disneyfication or something, you might wanna. We're gonna keep winning, but I think that we're gonna have some tragic moments. With like Illyria and her family. There's some big opportunities there for some tragedy. Khadgar's been around a long time too.
Khadgar, man. I'll be
there-
sad if
there's-
something happens
There's
to him.
opportunity for loss, to be certain. But we'll see how that unfolds. Midnight is a loss, then Last Titan is a comeback story. I'm not sure about that. It could be, but I think the greater threat still looms just.
Yeah, I don't want a savior. Yeah, neither do I, Kunisia. Yeah, I wanna see us overcome the challenge, right? I don't want to be saved by some great hero or something. There's lots of conversations about this Light Emperor that's coming from the other side of Azeroth, the one who sent the Halifal expedition out. We'll have to see what he's all about, but I don't think he's going to be a savior either. I think he might be actually a problem that we're going to have to deal with. But yeah, going forward, I want to see, yes, the champions of Azeroth, us necessarily, maybe with the help of Azeroth's World Soul or something. But yeah, we will overcome whatever's coming our way.
Beyond the darkness. I
Khadgar's going to die. Medieval be back to take his place. That'd be
big diversion. I mean, it's important. It's not that it's not important, but the true battle is still yet to come.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, great video. No, I really like that a lot. As I said before, the story itself, I don't think has gone necessarily soft. What I do think has gone awry slightly is Blizzard's selection in terms of what they're showing to players. That 5%, right, that players get to see, that for a lot of players is the only story they know. And then the rest of the lore being told in another fashion, right? They got to just pick and choose their cinematic moments better. That's it. Cinematic moments, I think, are meant to be big, grandiose, war-like, cool-ass moments where, like, somebody's dying, something's happening, big, powerful moments, big, epic moments. And then the emotional stuff can be left for side moments and things like that. Not necessarily, oh, we just killed a raid boss, now we're going to talk about how we feel about it. That's not necessary. So I like Pyro's takes on a lot of this stuff. It was pretty good.